Google Veo 3.1 outputs 4K video with native audio and lip sync under 120 milliseconds, while Higgsfield AI tops out at 1080p with zero native audio. That gap is real, and if you're paying per clip, it could change everything about which tool you pick. Both tools are pushing updates fast right now, so this is the moment to get the numbers straight. I'm comparing Higgsfield AI versus Google Veo 3.1 across 5 tests, pulling from pricing pages, API docs, and third-party benchmarks. Sources I checked myself, not marketing copy. And yeah, Google Veo 3.1 looks like the obvious winner on specs alone, but there's one test, copyright and commercial rights, where the story flips completely, and that one could matter way more to your business than resolution ever will. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day, so you don't have to be. I went through every number both companies will actually stand behind, pricing, output specs, API docs, and benchmark scores, to give you a straight answer on which one's actually worth your money. You've probably heard both tools are great at AI video generation, right? But if you're producing even 10 clips a month for a client or a brand, picking the wrong one could mean watermarked outputs, murky commercial rights, or a per-clip cost that blows your budget before the month's out. Test 1 is video output quality. A solo creator shipping a product demo on Friday needs to know, if your tool maxes at 1080p and the client asks for 4K delivery, you're redoing the whole job. And if there's no native audio, you're adding a whole extra step every single time. What surprised me here was just how wide the gap is. Google Veo 3.1 hits 4K, generates native audio with lip sync under 120 milliseconds, and can extend scenes up to 148 seconds. Higgsfield AI caps at 1080p, tops out at 15 seconds per clip, and has no native audio at all. I looked at the one published benchmark score for Higgsfield. Curious Refuge Labs gave it a 3.7 out of 10, and I couldn't find any equivalent independent score for Veo 3.1, so take that comparison with a grain of salt. Google Veo 3.1 takes this one, and it's not really close. 4K output, native audio, and clips that run nearly 150 seconds versus Higgsfield's 15. That's the decisive gap. That puts Google Veo up 1-0 on the scoreboard. Test 2, pricing model. The number that matters here is what you actually pay per 8-second clip, because that's the unit that adds up fast. If you're generating 50 clips a month and you're on the wrong plan, you could be overpaying by a lot without even knowing it. The per clip math here is actually really close, which kind of caught me off guard. Higgsfield AI's cheapest plan is $5 a month for 70 credits, and an 8-second clip runs you roughly 58 credits, so about 0.58 to 1.93, depending on your plan. Google Veo 3.1 charges 0.40 to 3.20 per 8-second clip through the API. Veo does have a free tier, 50 credits a day, which Higgsfield doesn't, but at volume, the per-clip cost lands in a comparable range on both sides. The entry price gap looks bigger than it is. Higgsfield starts at $5 a month and Veo starts at $19.99, so it looks like Higgsfield wins on cost, but Veo's free tier gives you 50 credits a day to test before you pay anything. At higher volumes, the per-clip cost on both platforms ends up in the same range, so the real question is your usage pattern, not the headline price. Pricing is a tie. The entry plan is $5 versus $19.99, so Higgsfield looks cheaper on the surface, but once you run the per-clip math at real volume, both platforms land in the same ballpark. Scoreboard stays at Google Veo 1, Higgsfield 0, 1 tied. Test 3 is API availability and integration. A dev team shipping a video automation pipeline needs to know, if your tool only has one REST endpoint and no enterprise hosting, the day you need GDPR compliance or a Python SDK, you're rebuilding your whole stack from scratch. I looked at both API setups pretty carefully here. Higgsfield AI runs a single REST endpoint through VideoGen API. It works, it's documented, and it has webhooks, but that's pretty much it. Google Veo 3.1 gives you 3 separate access points: Vertex AI, the Gemini API, and Google Flow, plus a Python SDK and GDPR-compliant enterprise hosting. Both have published docs, so that part's comparable, but the breadth on Veo's side is way, way more. Google Veo 3.1 takes this one on API breadth alone. 3 access points, a Python SDK, and enterprise GDPR, hosting versus a single endpoint. That's a real gap for any team scaling past hobby use. That moves the scoreboard to Google Veo 2, Higgsfield 0, 1 tied. 2 tests left, and the next one is copyright and commercial rights. And that's where Higgsfield actually flips the script on Google Veo 3.1. If you're selling video work to clients, you really want to see this one. Test 4. Copyright and data compliance. Say you deliver a video to a paying client, and 6 months later they get a takedown notice because the tool's commercial rights were unclear or tier dependent. That's a real scenario, and it's the kind of thing that ends client relationships fast. Higgsfield AI's position on this is way cleaner than I thought it would be. Higgsfield explicitly grants users full commercial rights to their outputs and puts no watermark on anything. Google Veo 3.1 applies a synth ID watermark to all outputs. You can remove it, but only on the Ultra tier, and the commercial rights situation varies by tier and region, which is kind of murky. Both platforms are opaque about training data sources, so that part's a wash. Higgsfield AI wins this test, and it's the clearest win in the whole comparison. Full commercial rights, no watermark, explicit ownership, versus Veo's tier-dependent rights and a watermark you can't always remove. Higgsfield gets on the board. It's now Google Veo 2, Higgsfield 1, 1 tied. Test 5, the last one, creative control and customization. You've probably heard both tools have solid camera controls, right? But if you need character consistency across multiple scenes, and your tool doesn't support reference images, you're matching characters by hand, and that's a huge time sink on any real production. Higgsfield's multi-model hub is genuinely cool. You get Kling, Seedance, and other models all in one interface, which Veo 3.1 just doesn't have, so I thought it might close the gap here. But Google Veo 3.1 supports up to 3 reference images for character consistency, generates native dialogue, sound effects, and ambient audio, and extends scenes up to 148 seconds. Camera controls are comparable. Higgsfield has dozens of presets. Veo's advanced controls are locked to the Ultra tier, so that one's a wash. Google Veo 3.1 takes creative control, and the multi-model hub from Higgsfield wasn't enough to close the gap on reference images, native audio, and a 148-second scene extension. That's the final score. Google Veo 3, Higgsfield 1, 1 tied. Higgsfield AI wins on commercial rights. Users keep full ownership of every output, no watermark, ever. It's the cheapest entry at $5 a month versus Veo's $19.99. And the multi-model hub, where you can run Kling, Seedance, and others from one place, is something Google Veo 3.1 flat out doesn't have. Google Veo 3.1 wins on output quality, 4K resolution, native audio with lip sync under 120 milliseconds, and scenes up to 148 seconds. And it has 3 API access points, including Vertex AI for enterprise teams, GDPR-compliant hosting, and a free tier of 50 credits a day so you can test before you pay anything. I went in thinking this would be a closer fight, but Google Veo 3.1 wins 3-1. Here's the decision rule. If you need 4K output, native audio, and enterprise API support, go with Google Veo 3.1. That 4K versus 1080p gap alone tells you everything. If you need clean commercial rights, no watermark, and a multi-model playground starting at $5 a month, Higgsfield AI is the safer pick. Base the call on the one thing that actually breaks your workflow. I ran Higgsfield AI against Kling next to see if the multi-model hub actually holds up when you compare the individual models head-to-head, and the quality gap there is a lot smaller than you'd expect. That one's already on the channel.